But one of the things I was thinking about over the last couple of games, because we were talking about it last week, because we were concerned that Barnes might miss some time. Now he didn't. He ended up playing and played all right.
Yeah.
But I still can't help but thinking about the backup behind him. Because you think about it and you're like, the backup behind him is Terrence Davis or Trey Lyles. You're either going down in size or you're going up in size,
Yeah.
And it's not really a backup.
No.
It's like Akpala maybe, but he's not a nightly minutes guy.
Not at all.
And I don't know, like the backup center obviously has to get fixed because we were just talking about a potential emergency alert where Sabonis gets hurt and you have so many options, but you also don't have any. But it would really be, at least you have names, you have bodies to throw out there. I feel like if something happens to Harrison Barnes, you're kind of hoping that Keon Ellis or somebody like comes up.
I have no idea. Like, yeah, that's a great point. Like, if Sabonis gets hurt, like, okay, like, at least we have actual centers.
Yes.
Like, we can throw out Lynn, we can throw Keita, we can throw I don't even really count Metu as a center, but he's been doing it. So you have Metu, you have Rashawn Holmes, your starting center for the last 2.5 years in SAC before this year. And so, like there really isn't. There's like no one's a small forward first player in this organization.
Honestly, the next person behind Barnes is probably Keegan Murray.
Yeah, you're right. No, I'd say Herter.
Herter?
I would say. Really? I think I was reading that Herter played more small forward than shooting guard in Atlanta last year.
Oh, yeah.
So, him, I guess. He was a starter. And I think he's starting shooting guard, but he probably played. I don't know. It sounded like Herter. It has
Bogdanovich coming off the bench.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about Bogey over in Atlanta. Is he coming off the bench? I think he's a starter.
He might be starting now, but when he was playing with Herter.
I think he might have been a starter. Maybe I'm crazy. I like I said, I clearly don't know.
I think I'm just going off of what I remember when the Kings got Herter, and I remember looking at because it seemed pretty clear that Herter would be the starter because he had more starter experience than Malik Monk.
That's true. Anyways, what were you saying? Or was I saying something? I don't remember.
We were kind of talking about who the next real small forward is. I mean, it's either Akpala or like, if you're talking about someone that you'd actually want to play, Keegan Murray or whatchamacallit, Kevin Herter.
Yeah.
And that wing position is so interesting because it just depends on what's the other guy doing and what's working.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to go? But that's what makes.
I'm looking up stats. Kevin Herter's position last year, according to Basketball Reference, they had like the position that says games and stuff. Last year, it says he was primarily a small forward.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Just bringing that up.
All right, we get it. You made your point. But, yeah, I mean, if Barnes gets hurt, I mean, it still opens up a big issue.
Yeah,
maybe you start TD at the 2 or whatever, and you have Herter at the 3. Like your starting lineup's going to look okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like Terrence Davis, when you think about him in that context, is really valuable.
Yeah, super valuable.
Because when Herter missed a game, it's just like you don't have to mess with your bench rotation at all. You just slide Terrence Davis in there. It's nice. But what's going to happen in that bench unit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's your backup? Yeah. It is.
Because you're relying on Akpala to go in there. And again, it's like I feel like Akpala in a certain way, if you're not relying on him to get you stops, if you're already kind of getting stops and you're running a good pace, he is fit in seamlessly.
Mm-hmm.
But again, is a difference maker. It's hard for him to go out there and make a huge difference. He can go out and give a guy a different look and slow a guy down, but I'm not taking that ability away from him. But I don't know. I feel like obviously the team would struggle. We were just talking about they would have so many issues in terms of their offense if Sabonis got hurt. But it's like personnel-wise, they don't really have a lot of answers or possible answers.
Yeah. And you just hope Barnes doesn't go down at this point.
Yeah.
It would. I've said it once and I'll say it again. It was such a mistake cutting Bazemore. It's a legit guy who can fill in behind Barnes. Like you don't have that. And when that situation arises or when Barnes slows down for his middle of the season slump like he always goes on, it's just gonna suck not having that legit 3 to back him up. And it's just, and now you have Chima Maneke on the 15-man roster for some reason.
Chima, man, but tearing it up in the G League.
I don't care.
I know.
Sign him to a G League contract. It just doesn't make sense that Kent Bazemore doesn't make the team after Barnes consistently never has a backup 3 in SAC, unless it is Kent Bazemore in 2019-20. But I don't know. It's just so frustrating to me because like where does Chima Maneke fit in this team?
Yeah, I don't even know.
We have 40 big men already. Like why get another? He's not going to fill in the backup small forward.
No.
So it's just, I don't know. You could use the backup 3. They had the opportunity, and that's my critique of Brown. He fell in love with his Nigerian national team players. It's just one too many, in my opinion.
I feel that. But in a similar sense with Sabonis, how we were saying, like, man, like talking about him potentially being gone, it highlights how good he is. I think this conversation about the backup wing or lack thereof kind of raises why it'd be important for maybe a contract extension to happen.
Oh, for Barnes?
Yeah.
It needs to happen. It needs to happen. If you lose
really
Barnes, you pray that Jay Crowder comes to SAC. That's about it. I mean, there's no small forwards next year. It's Jay Crowder or Harrison Barnes, really, that realistically can come to SAC. And so who would you rather have? A guy turning 33 or a guy turning 31 who's been in SAC, who does a lot for the community? I'm not saying that's important, but, like a guy who actually wants to be here.
He's tenure here, man.
Yeah, exactly. And he's probably happy that, he's sat through, 3.5 years of not making the playoffs. So, he's probably a little excited to see something he's helped create in his own to get here. So you have to sign Barnes, and whatever you feel about Barnes, he's a valuable member of this team. And at the end of the day, there's no other option.
Yeah. We were saying it like a month or two ago.
Yeah. But it's important.
Because that report came out that they're not really looking to shop him. And it's like, well, then you're going to sign him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, it still hasn't gotten a contract extension here after Christmas. I feel like we were kind of talking like, well, it'll be interesting because if Christmas and New Year's comes around and he hasn't gotten a contract extension yet, well, does that mean that they're still trying to shop him?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't really know when contract extensions happen in basketball. Just whenever.
Kind of.
I don't know.
I was kind of trying to look into that when we wrote that article. But
okay. I just don't feel like a lot of Kings get contract extensions in the middle of the season.
And it could have something to do with maybe we're waiting on the announcement from McNair or something.
Yeah,
because we are talking about another one potentially being on deck.
That's very true.
So, and that one actually has a report of it being imminent
from
Mark Stein. But it was, it seemed like more of the report was like, people are still so confused why it took so fucking long.
I know. I want to know the reason. I don't know if we'll ever find out.
Again, I can't imagine it can't be anything other than imaginary tough guy from the owner.
Yeah. It's weird. But
it's very weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Barnes, I don't see him getting traded. He doesn't get traded this deadline if the Kings are still on this pace. Even if they're not on this pace, they've shown that they can start off 30 games.
Yeah, you'd have to be getting like somebody. If Barnes is getting traded, you're getting like somebody like Siakam or Kuzma.
Exactly. or a guy, a small forward comparable, or it's just a player comparable to Barnes that's locked up for a couple of years. They're not renting out Barnes for another 1 year rental and who's not going to be on the team next year. You much would rather have a guy under contract, as is Fox, as is Sabonis for 1 more year, as is Herter, as is most players on this team. I think who's a free agent next year other than Barnes? And at like a big name. I don't think none of the starters.
None of the starters, no. They're all locked
and neither
up.
Is Monk.
No, yeah, because Monk signed a
Lyles is a free agent.
It's Lyles and Metu, I think, and
Davis.
Terrence Davis, yeah.
I think you trade Davis at the deadline. He's shown he can be valuable. And I love Davis. But
I feel like if you're going to make any move, it's probably going to involve him.
Yeah. And he has a decent sized contract. I think he makes like $6 million a year or so.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy, but it's like one of those, like, trying to bring in a guy who makes 10. Mm-hmm. It makes sense. And Davis has value. And it was beautiful that he showed that their one nationally televised game so far because everyone saw it. So, but he's been good, and he's a guy who should honestly be the backup shooting guard in most NBA lineups.
He's good.
Yeah, he is good. We just have two really good shooting guards in Sacramento, but yeah, that's. I don't know how we got to Terrence Davis.
Well, we're talking about.
We're talking about Barnes. Yeah, Barnes is back up,
and also any kind of trade deals to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting because I feel like you're gonna have to shore up. Man, I guess they're gonna have to shore up 2 positions through trade because it doesn't seem like they're gonna sign anybody. They can't really sign anybody. Nobody was really serious about DeMarcus Cousins.
No,
I just feel like
no one should be.
With the ownership having the history that they do with him. It's just like, why would that happen?
Exactly. The only reason we're talking about it is because Cousins tweeted it. It was started off as a Carmichael Dave thing, but if it ended with that, there would be no talk about Cousins. But Cousins Cousins just trying to get a job, really. Yeah,
I'd love to.
If he was getting other contracts or
seriously,
he does not care about coming back to Sac, and he likes Sac and everything, but he's just trying to stay in the NBA. So
it's true.
Cousins shouldn't happen, and thankfully, it probably won't.
No, if it hadn't happened, we were even saying it's like, well, everybody's talking about it so much, then it should happen already.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. So I mean, even like when I said Kuzma, it's like I don't think Kuzma's gonna. Siakam's not gonna happen.
No,
like that would have to be.
Does have to be draft picks.
Yeah,
or
also
Keegan Murray.
Yeah, you're talking about a situation too where if you got Kuzma, is Kuzma going to play the 3 or is Murray going to play the 3?
Murray.
Yeah.
I
almost feel like Murray. You almost want a more dynamic team with
Murray at the 4. Yeah, you're kind of just replacing. Keegan Murray could be a Kyle Kuzma. 2-3 years. Yeah. So kind of like that undersized 4, but still, playing that undersized 4 well. Kind of like what Derek Williams and Michael Beasley wish they could be.
Derek Williams.
Derek Williams.
The slam dunk contest on a motorcycle.